Hello, my name's Clint Samuel and I'm a landscape photographer. What does landscape photography mean to me? Landscape photography to me means solitude. It means becoming one with the environment. It's just myself and the camera, and I tend to find landscape photography very relaxing, very chilled thing to do. It enables me to think and to ponder what life is all about. So landscape photography for me is solitude and peace. My defining moment with photography was in 1978. I was 16 years of age and I was developing my own negatives, 35mm print film, and I'd turned the family bathroom into a makeshift darkroom. And the defining moment for me in photography was when I developed my very first negative. I projected the negative down onto the paper. I placed the paper into the developing liquid, and before my eyes the image appeared. And I couldn't believe, or I just can't describe the feeling that came over me when I seen that image appear on the paper under the water, into the developing liquid. I knew then that photography was for me, and I knew that photography would play a very, very large part of my life, which it has done for close to 40 years. So seeing that image appear before me, that was my defining moment in photography. Digital manipulation, I tend not to edit my images severely. People are a lot smarter these days. They know when an image has been digitally enhanced. I think that the idea certainly with my photography, is to capture it how it is and let the viewer or the person looking at the image make up their own mind. But I also believe if you lose the truth out of the image, or the person looking at your image does not believe what they're looking at, I think once you lose that, or you lose the viewer thinking that they don't believe that that's exactly how the landscape looked when you took that photograph, that you lose that person forever and they're very hard to get back. So digital manipulation for me is not all that important. There is a little bit that goes on, but I try and keep my images almost to what my eye has seen on that day when I took the shot. Printing. I think printing is super important with photography. Well, it is with my photography. I think once you print your images, you've gone full circle with the job. I mean, let's face it, you plan the location, what equipment to take, you look at the weather, you arrive at the location, and then you take your shots. But where do those shots end up? Usually on a phone or locked away in a computer somewhere on a hard drive. No one else sees them. I think printing is the finished product, and I believe to become good at photography, I believe you must print your images and put them in places where people can see them all the time. Websites are very good for that. Personal websites are very good for that. I don't rely on social media for people to see my images, even though they do and do comment on them. It's just a fleeting moment where they're there 1 minute and gone the next. So I believe printing is the final step in our photography, and if you want to become very, very good at photography, I suggest you start printing your images. I've been printing images now for close to 30 years, and I find that when I first started doing that, my photography wasn't as good as it is today, from what I've been told. But printing your images is the complete job finished. So printing images for me is really the only way. Equipment. Certainly, photographic equipment certainly is important. You need a camera to take an image. But we often talk about the exposure triangle, which is very important with photography, which is aperture, shutter speed and ISO. But for me, the triangle really is composition, light and emotion. Creating emotion with your photography is very, very important. So even though equipment is important with our photography, it's not all that important if you don't understand those three things. I mean, give an experienced photographer a entry-level camera or even a phone and get them to take an image, and you'll find that that image will be very, very good because they understand light, composition and creating emotion in your images. So equipment isn't everything. It certainly helps, but having expensive equipment doesn't mean you'll always get a good shot. The future of photography. The future of photography is a mixed one. We obviously have mobile phones or cell phones that are improving on a yearly basis, really, with new models coming out all the time. Camera manufacturers are now deleting their entry-level cameras because there's no sales for that equipment or those types of cameras, because people have got phones that are quite capable of taking a good image in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing. So the future photography really is sort of like mid-range to top level equipment, and obviously the skill level of the photographer or the person behind the camera. So the future is looking okay, I think. Technology is increasing very, very quickly with the mirrorless type of cameras these days. Digital SLRs will always be around due to the fact that for someone to change to a complete mirrorless, trying to change over to a complete mirrorless system is very, very expensive. So the camera manufacturers have realised that. So the digital SLRs will always be around, mixed in with the mirrorless range of cameras as well. So the future photography is looking good. There's more and more people taking the so-called hobby up, if that's how you want to call it. The future for my photography is to teach more, conduct more workshops and classes, one-on-one or one-on-one online. I believe teaching photography is part of our future. So that's what I think about the future of photography. But overall, I've devoted my life to photography and I will continue to do so. I've met some fabulous people, some fantastic photographers that are now lifelong friends. So I think, for me personally, the future of my photography is looking okay, and I'm very, very happy for that.